Stranger Stories.
I was frozen in time for 3 hours as a kid, and I wasn't alone. So I was about 11 years old, and it was my best friend's birthday. Me and many other friends were supposed to meet at his house, have a little cake, and then go to the movies to watch Spider-Man. I was pretty excited. So the day comes, and I really wanted to arrive early. So I asked my mom to drive me there at 2 p.m. instead of 3 p.m. It was a 10-minute drive. We arrived, rang the bell, and the housemaid answered. I say, "Hey, I'm here for Jamie's birthday." And she looked confused. I said, "We're going to the movies later?" The maid replies to me saying they left hours ago and it's 5 p.m. So I said okay and left. I walked back to the car where my mom was waiting and told her everything. We checked the time, and in fact, 3 hours had passed since we left my house. A 10-minute ride. We thought that it had been our fault. Maybe the clocks were wrong or something. That was until we arrived home and found my dad waiting for us, extremely worried. We were missing for hours and calls were simply not reaching my mom's cell phone. To this day, we have no idea what happened and are still searching for an explanation or an answer. My mother goes absolutely crazy every Christmas. She goes all out and tries to make our tree look even better than last year's. We always have used a fake tree, but this year she told me that she wanted a real one. I was happy to get a real tree. The following day, me, my mom, and our friends who own a truck all went to find a tree. This is where things get fuzzy. I was helping to bring in the tree when I tripped and hurt my knees on the stone steps. I don't think much of it. We get the tree inside the house and say goodbye to our friends. My mom suggests we go and get our decorations the next morning. The following day, I'm in the middle of having breakfast when I notice the tree is gone. There's no trace of it whatsoever. I get my mom and ask her about it, to which she replies, "We never bought one." I still have my scrapped up knees. I try and prove it to her, but the only evidence I had were my bloody knees. She says that my nonsense reminded her to pick up the tree she bought. I choose to go along with her and our friends with the truck. I'm standing there while they get our tree and find the spot we bought our tree the day before. There is no tree. I tell her and she looks at me confused. One of the workers asks us why we need a second tree. My mind was blown. My mom dismisses him and says this is our first real tree. He makes a face and walks away. I seriously don't know what to think. I know we bought that first tree. I know the worker remembered it too. Where did the tree go? It was Valentines Day 2017. My ex and I had gotten a room in a very nice hotel. We were going to go outside, relax, and smoke a cigarette, so I wanted to use the bathroom first. I asked my ex to wait. I finished using the bathroom and opened the door to find the room empty. I hadn't heard the door open, but I figured he went ahead. Extremely annoyed, I took the elevator down and walked outside. My ex was nowhere to be seen. For the next hour I searched all the places he could be, even asked the doorman if he'd seen him. I also couldn't call his phone because it was sitting in the room. Finally, I find him outside. We ask each other at the exact same time where the other one was. He said that after about 5 minutes of waiting in the room, he checked the bathroom to find it empty. We had a standard room, No extra rooms or hallways for us to possibly lose each other. He also asked the very same doorman if he'd seen me, to which he said no. We went back and made a comment to the doorman that we found each other, to which he replied that he can't recall seeing either of us in the last hour. I truly can't explain how we lost each other for almost an hour, yet appeared to be in the exact same place all along. My son and I moved to USA from South Africa in June. We have been living in the same house since we got here. My son is 12 years old, heavy into gaming and YouTube. Over the last week, we had some random toys just appear in his room. On a Friday night, he said he heard something fall, as if from the ceiling, and in the morning there was a Barney the Dinosaur lying on this floor. Last night he told me he heard a car rolling. This morning he found a Hot Wheels on his room floor. I found out from the person we are renting the house that the choices of who will be living here was between us and a couple with a 4 and a 6-year-old. My son thinks it's a ghost, but part of me wonders if in another timeline the other couple got the house and are wondering where their Barney and toy car are. I am old, 58 years plus, and this incident happened about 3 years ago. I used to travel to a small town for work. One side travel was about 30 to 35 minutes on a highway, depending upon traffic conditions. Once, while traveling back home, I overtook a Mini. I looked at it and couldn't help but notice the funny graffiti on its rear end. After about 10 minutes, I saw the same Mini with the same graffiti a little ahead of me. I thought they must have either been friends or a peer or maybe even been brothers for having the same model and color with the exact same wording and the exact same font on both their Minis. I just noted the license plate number. My wife calls me, asking when I should be home. I checked the time and should have been home by now. It was 10 minutes past my usual arrival time. I was going steady at 70, my usual speed. Another 10 minutes passed, and I overtook the same Mini a third time. It was the same license plate that I remembered and noted before. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I could not make any logical explanation or reasoning behind all of this. An hour passed. I was still driving. I had almost traveled twice the distance, but was still in the midway. There's a small highway restaurant at almost the midpoint. I had yet to be there. After some time, I finally made it home. I had traveled more than 3 times the distance one way. After I overtook the Mini for the third time, I sped up to 100. Yet still, it took me an hour and a half to get back home. How could this have happened? I have no idea.